Okay, thank you for the introduction. We called our session Feeding the DMP a Better Diet, of course with a reference to this great venue. But it's also chosen because we believe that we can enhance the results, the effectiveness and both efficiency of the work we do with our media plans by feeding the DMP a better diet. I will explain why this is relevant and how audience measurement data can help. Jennie will also share a case study as an example of the scenarios that we foresee. I'm representing Vinex. Vinex is a media owners committee and we're suppliers of digital audience data in the Netherlands. We have one mission to give the market reliable, transparent audience measurement data. Our organization represents all kinds of publishers, digital only, former print publishers, also broadcasters. My co-presenter, Jennie Beck, is working for Kantar, actually the research company we work with to get it all done. Our current audience measurement is called NOBO, Nederlands Online Bereiksonderzoek. And it's a hybrid system where we combine tag-based census data, millions and millions of page views, with panel data derived from around 12,500 devices that belong to 5,500 people. So it's a large panel for our in our world, but actually it's not that big. And joint industry committees or media owner committees that are responsible for delivering standard market data that's sometimes used as a currency for other media, but not for digital specifically. We are perfectionists. We are really control freaks and we drive our agencies into almost to madness in our quest for best quality data possible, with the highest level of accuracy and full transparency of all the methodology that's used. But our data is mostly audience measurement data. It's designed for media planning, to inform the market and how they can reach their target audiences with a certain selection of sites and apps. And key metrics in that process are reach and frequency. And when it comes to this kind of planning, we really treat online media as if it still were old media or more traditional offline media. And this is where reality has disrupted, actually, almost a decade ago already. Because for digital media, media planning and buying shifted to audience buying. And this made that we see there's a decline of this audience measurement data for planning, because planning is completely different in this age. But there are issues with the data that we use when we buy audiences. Because there is a lack of transparency about the definitions of that are behind profiles and audience segments. Buyers and sellers don't have access to the same data and the same sources. It's mostly device level, so not consumer-centric. And the accuracy can also be questioned sometimes. And this is painfully visible when digital campaigns are being monitored and validated through research. This is an example of an audience validation study where one campaign with one target, I believe the target audience here was younger than 40, that was validated with two instruments that lead back to different panels to validate the profiles. And here you can see actually that the profiles that were presented to the client from both instruments were completely different. On the left-hand side, we see that the profile is actually quite old. When you are targeting young people, you would not expect that. And the second one on the right side, you see a younger profile that actually represents what they were after. So there's a lot of questions about it. Same campaign, different results. And there can be numerous factors that are causing this issue, that are causing this. It is about technology used in both instruments, the way that's implemented. There can be numerous mistakes in that or factors blocking it. But also the panels that are behind it, that are delivering the profile information. So we believe it's time we start feeding the DMP a better diet. And we believe that we can really make use of our robust audience measurement data because it's reliable, transparent in setup, it's consumer-centric, and it's independent. And we foresee 3 scenarios or ways how we can do that. First of all, we can use our panel data as a true source to validate and feed the system, but first of all to validate the quality of the data feeding the DMPs. We are currently working on projects in the Netherlands that are not ready to present here, but we are actually running a pilot campaign measurement now where we have one campaign tagged with 4 different measurement systems that lead back to 4 different panels, and there we can actually see from this, and we have access to the source data, what the differences are in profiles. They will be completely different, but our goal here is to actually learn about where these differences come from. We know our system is not perfect, I'm sure of that, but at least we know where we go wrong. We know everything, we know exactly what we are able to measure, whether or not in-app advertising can actually be measured in our system. And we can use that set to compare with other sets. And also our goal is also to try and find a way where our high quality but small size data set can actually help to inform the total system that we are using. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is that the other challenge that we have is we have panel data and we need to scale it up to census level, granular data sets that can actually be used to build audiences. So we are also in projects where we try and learn whether it's possible to create informed census derived from our panel data. That's an interesting scenario too. And the third one is to connect our data sets to databases that are already feeding the DMP. And Jennie is going to talk about a project that actually relates to the last 2 scenarios.
Thanks, Karin. I'm going to do this very quickly. We have built a solution that allows us to input high-quality data into DMPs to improve programmatic targeting. And I've got one example here for a client in the UK who was developing a new retail offer and who needed to raise awareness among niche groups and to encourage footfall. And this was a collaborative process with the client, the agency, our data partners, and Kantar Media. So this is essentially what they did. The agency used TGI to create the most relevant audience target segments based on offline and online behavior. The segments are then run in TGI, and respondent level data is matched at an individual level with records in the big data set. The segments are then modeled up and weighted to currency-based population targets. In this case, we created 4 segments ranging in size from 800,000 to around 5 million. So we're able to create and deliver online target audiences at scale based on an original high-quality data set. But we can't leave it there, because one of the big issues, as Karin said, is that we have no visibility on the composition of audiences created in DMPs. And for our approach, this needs to be fixed. So as we're rolling out this new solution, we're also rolling out a validation program. We do that by identifying Ignite panel members, this is with Kantar Millward Brown, in each of our target segments, and then contacting them to complete a very short questionnaire. It's a bit like back translation, and this will give us an accuracy score. So what is the real impact? I think from what we heard yesterday, particularly from the MRC and their standards for digital research, this is really about getting a truth element into what would otherwise be model data, probabilistic data. So we're trying to combine deterministic and probabilistic, and I managed to say that twice without fault. And we think this is going to make a big difference. The smallest increase in accuracy can have quite a big effect when it comes to monitoring a campaign. So I'm just going to, in the final 19 seconds, Karin is just going to tell us what the future looks like.
Yeah, what's the outlook of this kind of exercises or this kind of solutions? Well, we believe our data system is set up, that the way it was set up by Kantar is capable of handling the challenges we're facing because it's adaptive. We can include different kinds of sources, currently tag-based sensors, but it can also be other kinds of census data. It's capable of handling all other kinds of data. But is GDPR challenging it? The answer is yes and no. On the one hand, no, because there's no threat to the use of cookies for analytical purposes, and that's covered at this point. Everything we do with the panel is also based on, is secured by opt-in procedures and all the procedures that we need there. But for the part where, but GDPR is a threat to the activation of cookie data, because we need a specific consent for that, for the consumers, and that's currently not in place, I believe. And I think that this kind of data it was always there, will always be there, and in the future will definitely get a role as a truth set to the whole system. Thank you.